Welcome to Unlocking Your Truth, another podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips.
Forgiveness. I thought that would be a really great topic. I chose it because I pulled a card from my card deck and that was the one that came up. So I figured that the universe wanted us to talk about forgiveness this evening. Now, the practice of forgiveness has been shown to reduce anger, to reduce hurt, depression, relieve stress, and lead to greater feelings of hope, peace, compassion, and self-confidence. Practicing forgiveness leads to healthy relationships as well as physical health and influences our attitude, which opens the heart to kindness, beauty, and love. So that was what it says. There's a website called learningtoforgive.com and so they're advocates for forgiveness. And so I've sort of written down my 10 different steps or keys to forgiveness, and we're going to talk about that this evening. Before we get into that, I'll introduce, we have Corey, who is co-hosts the show. So Corey, is there anything in your life that you haven't forgiven?
Oh, lots.
Well, do you want to? Would you be so kind as to share one of them with us?
No.
No? Come on.
They're all personal. Okay, I have one. I just told somebody's... I took some candies off of the receptionist desk.
Well, and
I can't forgive myself.
You can't... Oh, you can't forgive yourself. Well, that's an interesting point, isn't it? Because we tend to, when we're talking about forgiveness, think that it's some other person that we have to forgive. But often it's ourselves that we judge the most and ourselves that we forgive the least. So actually, thank you for that, because that's
welcome.
That's a really, really good point. So, and here's another question for you. Do you remember a time when you were able to let go of something and forgive somebody?
Of course.
So how did you feel after you'd forgiven them, and how did you feel before you'd forgiven them?
Well, it's the same thing as if you've got a looming chore that you have to do that you hate doing or you're afraid of doing, and it just eats at you until you get it done, and then once it's done, you sort of go, oh, that was easy. I feel better.
Did you feel
forgiveness is the same thing?
Did you feel relieved?
Yes, relieved, tension gone, at ease, all kinds of good things.
Let go of the story that's going around in your mind.
Yeah, mostly. Only if the other person is in tune with you. Because if the other person isn't in tune, you can forgive all you want. If that person isn't willing to let it go as well, then that energy stays active.
In the other person's reality.
Yes, and also in your reality, if that person is, if it's a closed environment,
right,
such as relationship or work environment or something along those lines.
Oh.
From my experience.
Well, thank you for sharing your experience. And from my experience as well, I thought that I sort of brainstormed a little bit with myself before the show, and
what's that look like?
Well. Yes. It's, well, you know what? It's my higher self communicating with my body personality. How about that?
Okay.
So, key number one, or step number one to forgiveness, is awareness. You actually have to be aware that you're holding on to blame, judgment, victimhood, and some kind of story that demonstrates you to be hurt in some way. Because oftentimes we're harboring all sorts of things and we're not necessarily consciously aware enough to notice that we're doing it.
Like a psychopath.
like a psychopath. Well, yeah, a psychopath. I wonder if a psychopath, forgiveness and judgment enters into it for a psychopath, or whether they're so far out of the.
Well, they have no emotions.
No,
because if they had emotions, they couldn't do what they do in a lot of cases.
Right. Yeah, and so really what we're talking about, emotions are definitely involved here, aren't they? Emotions of feeling hurt, of feeling angry, and so on, often go alongside not forgiving someone for something. So step number one, key number one, awareness. And actually you can do a little exercise, everyone that's listening, is just take a moment right now to reflect on, is there something in your life that you're holding on to, where you're holding on to blame or judgment or feelings of hurt so that you're angry at somebody else? Just notice, let yourself become aware. And you might notice that there is something there that is sort of hiding beneath the surface that you've not been acknowledging consciously. So step number one is you have to be aware. What am I holding on to here? Step number two, to your point, Corrie, is like, well, how do you feel about what happened? How are you feeling? Know how you feel. Are you feeling angry? Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling hurt? What are the feelings that you're experiencing around this situation or person that you have been unable to forgive? And then communication is another key to being able to forgive. So a lot of us will bottle things up inside ourselves and not express those emotions, bottle them up and stuff them down. And so being able to communicate and articulate about the situation and what about it isn't okay, what's not acceptable to you, why did that person or that action bring about this state within you, what's not okay, what's not acceptable to you. So know how you feel, know why you feel that way, and then be able to articulate it and perhaps even share it with another person. I often find having a really good friend to have a chat with is very helpful. What do you think about that, Corrie? Do you think it helps to talk about it?
Sure it does.
Yeah.
I agree totally.
Yeah, so tell people you trust about your experience. And here's the thing, under communication, you don't actually need to confront the person in question in order to forgive them. You don't necessarily need to communicate with them at all. And so it's really down to your specific circumstances. I mean, if you think sometimes there are these victim programs, aren't there, where the victim goes and meets the perpetrator in prison and is able to confront them, and in some way that brings them some relief. But it's not necessary for everyone to do that. Forgiveness is a process that takes place really inside of you. And then my key number 4 in the process of forgiveness, commitment. Make a commitment to yourself to do whatever it is that you have to do to feel better. Because really, why you are forgiving is more about you than the other person. Because when we harbor judgment and blame and victimhood, those are emotional states that are non-beneficial. And actually, if there's enough of it held on to for long enough, it can actually make you ill. And so commit to your own healing process. Commit to doing whatever it is that you need to do to feel better. And know what that is for you. It might be meditation. It might be confronting the person. But it might not be. So make a commitment to heal yourself. And I suppose this is connected with that. It's like find peace. Because when you are in a state where you're holding on to blame and judgment and you're not forgiving, you're not in peace. You're not at peace. You're not at peace. You're in a place of inner turmoil, or you're in a place of denial and stuffed down feelings. And so forgiveness can bring you peace, and so finding what can give you peace can facilitate forgiveness. And like I was saying, it doesn't necessarily mean that you reconcile with the person that hurt you, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you condone their action. But what it does mean is that you let go of all of the stuff inside of you that can continue to hurt you. And then perspective is another thing I wrote down here. Get the right perspective on what's happening. So recognize that your primary distress is coming from the hurt feelings, thoughts, and physical upset that you're suffering from. So yes, maybe somebody offended you 2 minutes ago, 2 years ago, last week, but it isn't happening now. The only reason it is happening now is because you're carrying it on by holding on to the hurt feelings and the thoughts and the upset. So get the perspective that you control your reality and you can let it go by letting go of what you're holding on to. And then another key on the path or road to forgiveness, coping strategies. Do you have any coping strategies, Corey, that you use for this?
Coping strategies. Well, one is, take a breath. Take a couple of minutes if you're in a position where you have issues, so that just to relax, just to breathe. And then it's easier to see the aspect of the issue more clearly. Yeah. Yeah,
that is a very simple one, isn't it, that everyone can do, because, and that helps you, anything like that helps you relieve the stress. And so breathing, meditating, anything that will calm you down.
Let me guess, grounding.
Soothe your body's fight or flight response. Grounding will help. And another coping strategy, which is the framework of not taking things personally. Because even if someone else is directing their anger at you or something else at you, it's really got more to do with that other person than it has to do with you. And this can be a really hard one, but if you can manage not to take things personally, that can set you free from even creating a situation where you need to forgive in the first place. Another one is letting go of expectations. Give up expecting things from other people, because invariably they fail to live up to your expectations. And so let go of expectations.
My friend always used to, she led a choir, and she had a song, it was called Don't Get Attached to the Outcome.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Don't get attached to the outcome. Don't expect other people to behave in a certain way. And that will go some way to helping you forgive. Because if you have all of these, I can't think of the word, but high ideals that you expect people in your life to live up to, they can't ever do that. And then maybe then you find their behavior unforgivable because they haven't done X, Y, Z that you expected them to do. But if you don't have those expectations in the first place, it's not going to be a problem. You're just allowing them to be who they are, where they're at. Good, bad, and indifferent. And then, next one, move on. Move on. Don't harbor all of that energy, like I was saying earlier. Put your energy into looking for another way to get your positive goals met than through the experience that has hurt you. So instead of mentally replaying your hurt, seek new ways to get what you want. So just leave it behind. Don't continue it on emotionally within your energy. And then finally, own your power. Own your power. So instead of focusing on your wounded feelings and giving the person who caused you the pain power over you, look for the love, look for the beauty, look for the kindness, and own your power. Change your story from being a victim to being a hero who was able to forgive. So that's my 10 keys for forgiveness. Listeners, welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley, and I have a caller on the line. Hello, caller.
Hello.
Hello, who am I talking to?
Lisa.
Hello, Lisa. What's your question for me?
Okay, I had a reading with you, Dr. Lesley, in April, and at that point you said to me that I was about 3/4 of the way through a healing cycle, which was really accurate. That's exactly where I was. The last month or so, I just keep getting this word that's popping in out of my head just randomly, and it always says doctorate. Never doctor, just doctorate. And I just keep feeling that it's meant to be something that I'm supposed to do, but I really am at a loss as to what it is, and I was wondering if you could help me.
Sure. So, Lisa, just give me a bit of background information about you. What have you done for a living thus far in your life, and what education do you have already?
What did I do in my life? I was a teacher, and I retired a year ago.
Ah. Okay. And what did you teach, and what other subjects are you interested in?
I taught children who came from different countries, so English is a second language, young children.
Right. And what do you have a passion for?
Well, for many, many years, I've always been interested in alternative health.
Okay.
And energy and all those kind of, alternative type of healing modalities. And I'm just feeling sort of a pull in that area, but I can't tell if it's my imagination or something else.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for that background information. I am going to take a look, and all you need to do is relax and keep your eyes open, and I'm just going to go into a slightly altered state of consciousness in order to be able to read this a bit better. So just give me a moment. So very interesting. So I definitely see that you have completed that healing cycle, and you're right at the very beginning of a new growth cycle. And the color vibration that I'm seeing associated with it is gold. It's a really high vibration, a really clear vibration, and a really neutral vibration. But it's just like the dawning, the first glimmer of the sun cracking above the horizon. So you're right at the very beginning of it. And I'm also seeing a halo of light green energy surrounding this growth cycle. So it's all very much new growth. And it looks to me like what you're doing is you're combining some deep inner wisdom that you already have, some information that you have accumulated in this lifetime and other lifetimes, and then you're bringing that forward for expression and new learning and new growth. So it's a combination of what I already know and experience I already have with expanding it in a new way and expressing it in a new way. So that's the first thing that I'm seeing. And the other thing that I'm seeing about it is it looks like part of it has to do with breaking through old conventions. And I'm seeing that there's a whole bunch of sort of ideas of limits coming up. And they're not limits within you, they're more like limits within culture, society, and practices. And I'm seeing some of it's from past lives where you've been a healing practitioner or teacher and it's been within the confines of a specific group. You know, like only this special group of people are allowed this knowledge kind of thing. And so there's some past life stuff like that. Certain people are allowed to know and practice. Certain people are not allowed to know the special knowledge. And I'm seeing that you were a practitioner in those past lives, but also in present day reality, we have a sort of schism. You know, we have the conventional, accepted medical and healing practices, and then we have the alternative healing practices. And while there is a shift that is happening to help them to merge, we're very, very far away from one accepting the other and vice versa. And it feels to me like part of the journey that you're embarking on has very much to do with breaking through those kinds of limits. So somehow taking this, you know, this passion that you have in alternative healing modalities and helping bring them more into the mainstream. So you can imagine actually doing a doctorate, right? Doing a doctorate in that area could very well be a way to do that. So now let me look at this idea of a doctorate and where it's coming from. Well, and I'm seeing that that's exactly where the idea is coming from. It looks like you know that there's a purpose there for you that relates to what I've just said, and doing a doctorate is a vehicle for being able to contribute to such a shift in a big way. And it looks to me like, you know, there's an enormous amount of energy that you're focusing on activating and flowing through your system around this. It looks very, very exciting. Now, let me just see if there's any information about where you might do this doctorate.
It's broad.
Yeah, and have you investigated any schools or places that you could do this?
I have, and it was interesting because when I looked at it a few months ago, when you said I'm still in my healing cycle, I couldn't really seem to see a lot. And when I sat down the last couple of days to do it, different information was coming to me on the internet than had happened before.
So tell me what showed up, and I'll take a look at them for you.
Okay, it was called, the one that I found, but the classes aren't quite on yet. It's called International College of Medical Intuition.
Okay, and that's not the one that Caroline Miss runs, is it?
I'm not sure. I don't have a name with it.
Okay, well, I'll take a look. The International...
it's Dr. Marilyn Parkin.
Marilyn Parkin.
Yeah.
Is she a medical doctor?
I believe she was a nurse, and she did some training in England with some other medical intuitives. So I don't know what her doctorate is in, actually.
Right. Well, the information that I'm getting now, which is just some guidance for choosing what you end up choosing, is in this case, it looks like you might want to consider choosing something that has an element of legitimacy.
Yes.
Because you're wanting to cross between conventional and alternative. So something that has a name, that has some kind of established reputation.
Yes.
I would use that as a criteria, and if I look at this particular one,
it's just, may I add something?
Yes.
It's interesting what you just said was what the very first line of this institution says. It is registered with PCTIA, which is a Crown corporation under the Ministry of Advanced Education of BC. They take pride in being the only school teaching medical intuition to achieve this form of registration.
Right, and actually, that I was going to say to you, you want to look for the school to be able to legitimately deliver a doctorate, or so that's what you're looking for. Now, I would still continue to do a bit more research and see what else you can come up with.
Okay.
Something is not showing up as super bright about this one. I'm not sure why. Do you have any other ones that you saw that I could compare?
I don't so far. I just sort of restarted my search, as it were.
Well, you're definitely on the right track. Absolutely, you are. And
but this one might not be the one.
It might not. And the other thing I would look for is, just as much as they might interview you as a candidate, you want to interview them, and you want to interview the teachers, and you want to look for people who are going to validate you, who you are, what you have to offer, and what you can bring to the table. You want to look for people who can nurture you to bring forward your own intuitive wisdom and information, as opposed to people who put themselves in an ivory tower and dictate a teaching to you.
Mm-hmm.
So you want something that's going to bring out you and the best in you and what you have to offer the world. You don't want to be trained into being a clone of somebody else. So that's the other guidance that I would give you is you make sure you get to know the people that will be teaching you a little bit, and see how you feel in having conversations with them, and do you feel comfortable? Do you feel like you'll be able to be nurtured and heard, or do you is there some competition and ego going on? So you get so that yes. Now let's see if there's anything else that comes up.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, now, just to reinforce what I just said, because I'm seeing a lot of this direction for you, it's about you grounding your own information in the current body and operating from your own higher information. Mm-hmm. So that's what a good course in medical intuition or developing your intuition will do. It will help. It's about helping you to really access your own higher guidance, and to be, and that's where you're getting your information from. Is you're getting your information from your higher self, because I'm seeing that you really have activated, and have potential to access a lot of information and wisdom that is yours. Mm-hmm. And so I would just, you want something that's going to open up the floodgates to that pouring through you, as opposed to, training you in some set of teachings or rules to abide by.
Okay. Okay.
So I'd love you to call back to the show maybe in a few weeks when you've done a bit more research, or you're at the point that you're making your decision.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lesley. I really appreciate it, and I'm enjoying the show.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for calling, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Hello everyone, welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. In the absence of another caller, Corey has a big long list of email questions.
I forgot that was my cue. I've been off too long. Okay, we have a question from JC, and she wants to know, she even says it, I want to know about my past life to get to know myself deeper and to find my greatest talents or abilities.
So she wants to know about her past life, and I'm just going to repeat this, make sure I get it. Her past life and her spiritual abilities. Oh yeah. I want to know about my past life and get to know myself deeper. What's the question in that? That's a desire.
Well, she wants to know. Tell her about her past life. So,
all right. Give her a quick past life reading.
What past life would be relevant to her?
Okay, to her getting to know herself deeper and finding her greatest talents and abilities. Okay, thank you. All right, JC, give me a moment and I'll take a look. Oh, okay, yes. And talking about growth cycles, I can see that you're in a growth. You are in a growth cycle, which all has to do with validating yourself and getting to know yourself more deeply. And I'm seeing you're about a quarter of the way through that growth cycle. So that's exactly where you're at. And let's see if we can throw some information your way that will help you with that. And you've asked for past life information, so that's what we'll do. I am seeing a past life lighting up very strongly that is about just over a third of the way down your timeline. So we all have a timeline on Earth that we've been having bodies, and yours is a fairly long one, and this is a third of the way down your timeline. So let's see what the life is. Okay, so the symbol to get me into the life is the goddess Kali, I think is her name. So it's one of the Indian goddesses. It's the one that has, she's looks like she's dancing and she's got many arms. So I believe she's a creator goddess. So that's the symbol. And I'm seeing a past life in India. And I'm seeing that you were in a female body and you were a devotee of this particular goddess. And so let me just see. Because I'm just seeing images of you, I can't think of the word, making offerings. Making offerings of flower petals and rice and incense to this goddess. And I'm seeing in that lifetime you wanted children and you didn't have any children, and so you were honoring this goddess often because you were praying to be made a mother. And it's kind of interesting because you were like every day, many times a day, leaving offerings, and you wanted this so much, and it didn't happen, and you couldn't understand why hasn't it happened, and what do you want from me? Because you, goddess, are the one. You have the power to help me have this dream come true, and so. It's like as the years went by, it sort of shifted then all your focus is why couldn't I have this? Why couldn't I have what I wanted? Why didn't you give me what I wanted. And so let me just take a look at why you created that life and what you were wanting to learn from it. Well, it looks like one of the things that you contended with was judging yourself and also the judgment of the society around a barren woman, and that invalidation of yourself because of not being able to have a baby. And what you were challenging yourself to do was validate yourself and love yourself anyway. And also not to need external validation from anyone. And also to... it looks like you're looking at shifting that belief system that says that the power is outside of you and resides within some external being or force, versus knowing that you are the creator of your own reality and the creator of your own life. And let's just see. And I know that you're wanting to know about your talents this lifetime, so I'm going to see if I can segue into why this particular life has come up and how that relates to that. So give me a moment. It's always a bit awkward on the radio when you have to go quiet for a moment to look at something, so bear with me. I feel like I need to be a bit quiet to look at this. It looks like the other thing that you were cultivating was being at peace no matter what. Being at peace no matter what. Full acceptance of what is and not needing anything to be any different than it is. And actually, so you were really working on cultivating your power. Okay? Because if you can accept what is and not need it to be different in any way, that's a really powerful position to be in, to fully accept the present moment, and also not to it's just acceptance and not needing circumstances to be different, and not looking outside of yourself for your answers or for approval. And so how that relates to knowing yourself more deeply this lifetime and finding out your greatest talents and abilities. It looks, what's coming up is actually there's that you're carrying this lifetime, the current lifetime. You're still carrying some of the issues from that lifetime. I'm seeing they're all second chakra issues, and they relate to the emotions and sexuality and creativity. And, I'm seeing that you are... One way in which you do not know yourself right now is that you do not fully acknowledge your emotions, that you deny them and suppress them, especially when it comes to your interactions with other people. Okay, so that you're exercising actually an enormous amount of energy stuffing your emotions down. And it looks to me like step one in getting to know yourself more deeply this lifetime is actually working on that second chakra and working on communicating with your body and knowing your emotional reality, knowing what you've stuffed down in there and really starting to shift it and move it and let it go. And it looks like that will bring acceptance, compassion, and it will bring a creative vibrancy when the energy is able to flow more smoothly through that second chakra area, that it will it will unleash creative potential within you. And it feels like perhaps we won't go too much further than that, but I'm seeing that there's something to do with your creativity. It looks like in that lifetime, this particular lady was quite good at... looks like she worked with beautiful fabrics and created beautiful clothes and wall hangings and things like that. Now, I'm not suggesting that that is necessarily what you will do this lifetime, but it just seems to me that right now it's about loving yourself, validating yourself, and healing yourself, and the rest of it will unfold for you. I'm going to stop that one there, Corey, and we've got time for one more.
Yes,
I think.
we do. We have really good questions this week, and if the listeners don't get their question answered this week, next week's another week. But I have one I have to go with, because it's not often we get one like this. And this is from Anne, and Anne once says, I'm wrestling with a type of spiritual business to start. She wants to start a spiritual business. I'm currently working on my exopolitics, in brackets, political implications of extraterrestrial visits to Earth and emerging paradigms.
Cool. Wow.
I'm not laughing at it. I think it's wonderful to get somebody that's
cool. So it's interesting, like she's on the one hand she's wrestling with with what is the type of spiritual business to start. On the other hand, she only really mentions one direction, which is this exopolitics. I'd never heard that word before. I love it. So let me just take a look for you, Anne. And, of course, we're not using your real name here, but if you're listening in, you know who you are. Give me a moment. I'm going to tune in to Anne's...
So do her parents.
Energy. Okay. Well, I just want to validate that... that you are, you say you're working on the political implications of extraterrestrials visiting Earth and the emerging paradigms. So I'm seeing that you are in definite contact on a spiritual communication level with extraterrestrials. I'm seeing that there's a very specific group of extraterrestrials that you are communicating with. And I want to say that it's that communication sort of coming from the Palladian star cluster. So some Palladian, and I believe there's a lot of different groups in that star system, but we tend to lump them together and call them Palladians. And so I'm seeing that there is, we might want to call you an emissary. And it looks like you have an agreement to work with that group. And it looks like that group is preparing you to be, as an emissary, to preparing you to be somebody who can facilitate those first contact type experiences. And it's kind of, and so I'll just validate that's definitely part of your purpose, and it's definitely something you're being prepped for. It's and I don't know how conscious you are of this going on, but I'm seeing it's definitely happening. Now, what type of spiritual business to start, and could that in any way be a form of business related to business? Well, so here we go. One could hypothetically imagine a consulting business, right? If all of this was actually happening. But for now, let me just take a look and see what we can see about that. And I've got 4 minutes left, so I might have to cut you off. But So, you could have a spiritual business that is teaching people about extraterrestrial contact. You could have a spiritual business that is teaching people how to communicate safely with extraterrestrials, how to discern who they're talking to. And so you would have a lot of people who'd be interested in that kind of stuff. So teaching workshops about extraterrestrial communication looks like something that you could form a business around. And it looks like it would start with lay people who have an interest in it like you do. And then, who knows what will unfold in the future, and what circumstances might arise that might make you sort out in other areas. But for now, I'm seeing that. And the other thing that I'm also seeing, and this is a choice for you, is that you could also act as a communication mouthpiece to convey messages from the group that you are in communication with. And so, if you're aware of channelers like Bashar, Daryl Anker, he channels alien consciousness from a different group of aliens than the ones that you're working with. But I'm also seeing that that's a possibility for you. Not something to be jumped into lightly, though. Something that you might want to seek out some training yourself. But yeah, so I'm seeing, being an emissary, a spokesperson that delivers the messages of the group that you're working with, and or teaching others how to have communication with extraterrestrials. So I hope that helps you. I've forgotten what...
Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to another Unlocking Your Truth podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips. For more information, go to our website at drlesleyphillips.com. That's drlesleyphillips.com, where you can ask questions or send her an email, and there's many free gifts on there for you as well. Come back again.